So hi everyone, good afternoon. I am Andrea Hian from BSED 2A and this video is the continuation of Miss Labrador's video presentation or video explanation or discussion. So I'm going to continue the bilingual education policy. So my part is the goals of the bilingual education policy. So what is bilingual education policy? Bilingual education policy, it is a policy in the Philippines that aims to use Filipino and English as media of instruction in schools. So it is based in the 1987 Constitution, which says that Filipino is the national language and that for communication and instruction, the official languages are Filipino and English. So what is the goals of the bilingual education policy shall be? First, enhance learning through two languages to achieve quality education as called for by the 1987 Constitution. So students should learn both language using Filipino and English. By using both, the policy hopes to improve understanding, comprehension, and overall quality of learning. It aligns with the constitutional mandate to foster education using these official languages. Regional languages like local mother tongues are used as auxiliary media, especially in the early grades like grade 1 and 2 where it is needed. Because some topics are more accessible in English, especially science and technology, math, and other subject that uses English, and others are more relatable in Filipino. Using both can help learners grasp complex ideas, avoid misunderstandings, and better connect school learning to their culture and everyday life. It also ensures that the educational standard remains high and inclusive. So the second goal is the propagation of Filipino as a language of literacy. To make Filipino not just spoken but also used for reading, writing, books, official texts, etc. to promote literacy in Filipino. So Filipino becomes a strong language of reading and writing. Literacy in one's national language supports identity, improves access to knowledge, allows more people to participate in culture and civic life, and ensures that people who may not be fluent in English are not left behind. So third is the development of Filipino as linguistic symbol of national unity and identity. Filipino is not just a tool for communication, it carries symbolism, it helps connect people across islands and language groups, giving them a shared language that represents national identity. That represents the Philippines is linguistically diverse. Having a common national language helps strengthen social cohesion, civic identity, and shared values. It helps people from different regions relate to one another and feel part of one nation. So fourth is the cultivation and elaboration of Filipino as a language of scholarly discourse, that is to say, its continuing intellectualization and the maintenance of English as an international language for the Philippines and as a non-exclusive language of science and technology. Filipino should be developed so that it can express advanced academic, technical, scientific ideas, not only everyday conversations. These involves expanding vocabulary, improving grammar, writing high-level text, and etc. For higher education, research, and intellectual work, a language must have the tools to express complex ideas. If Filipino is only used in casual or basic levels, it limits students' ability to use their national language in advanced study or professions, thus relying too much on English for higher learning. The maintenance of English as an international language for the Philippines and as a non-exclusive language of science and technology and higher academic, it's not to be replaced but to be maintained. not the only one, but an important one among the language used. So, English gives Filipino students access to global knowledge. Global knowledge, research, international communication, career opportunities abroad, or in international fields. Also, many technical terms, scientific discoveries, and academic literature are in English. Keeping English proficiency helps the Philippines keep up globally. So, how does the goals work together? The policy was advantageous for both languages. English was taught as a second language. Filipino, on the other hand, was continuously enriched and enhanced. However, there are also certain disadvantages to these policies. Experts stated that instead of additive bilingualism, students experience subtractive bilingualism. So the policy is balancing national identity with global engagement. It recognizes that language is not just a tool but also part of culture, self, and identity. By promoting both Filipino and English, it hopes to ensure that students are not disadvantaged. They can think and communicate in their own language and also navigate global, scientific, technological, and academic discourse. The intellectualization of Filipino ensures that it isn't considered inferior or only for informal use. This helps the prestige of Filipino by maintaining English but not making it exclusive. The policy avoids marginalizing Filipino and also ensures students are not cut off from international advances. The advantages and disadvantages of the bilingual education policies. So the advantages is English is taught as a second language. Students are taught English systematically in school, which helps them become proficient in an international language. This supports access to broader scientific, technological, and academic knowledge, much of which is published or available in English. Filipino enrich and enhance. Because Filipino is used in instruction and as a subject, its vocabulary, usage, and expressive capacity grow. Academic texts, literature, discussion, and etc. It reinforces Filipino as a national language, helping with national identity, literacy, and culture. So, the disadvantages is the subtractive bilingualism versus the additive bilingualism. So, additive bilingualism is when a second language is learned in addition to the first without diminishing the first language. So the first language or our native language or our mother tongue is maintained, valued, and supported. While the subtractive bilingualism is when learning a second language often because of the society or the school's favorite, leads to weakening or loss of the first language. So, additive bilingualism is something mag-learn og another language like your second language, which is English. Mag-learn ka og second language to know something or para mas makasabot ka and mas knowledgeable ka. So, kani siya is mao ni siya imong gamiton ang second language inside the school premises and work for formal settings or something nga magpass ba karon og job kanang sa imong job, sa imong interview like that. So dapat maggamit og second language. Mo na ang additive bilingualism which mag-add ka og language. Mo nang additive, add. So and example ani like ang usa ka student is eskwela siya and inside their classroom magamit sila og English language which nga naglisod siya gamit. So kaning usa ka student is need niya mag-study og kaning second language nga English kay need man nila sa eskwelahan kay magstorya og English language. So mag-need siya og tuon, cut-on, learn og second language nga English para ma-apply niya sud sa iyahang room sud sa eskwelahan para ma-fluent siya or mas knowledgeable siya sa second language nga English. So, while on the other hand, the subtractive bilingualism, it is like you tend to forget your first language, your native language, or your mother tongue because you are currently using or continuously using your second language. It's either English or other second language nga permi nimo ginagamit, which ma-neglect nimo ang imuhang first language or imuhang mother tongue. Mao na ang subtractive bilingualism, which na-subtract na nimo or nakuha na nimo, nalimot na nimo, na neglect nimo ang paggamit sa first language, which permi na nimo magamit ang second language. Mao nang subtractive bilingualism. So, the policy on bilingual education aims at the achievement of competence involved Filipino and English at the national level through the teaching of both languages and their use of a media of instruction. The regional languages have been used as auxiliary languages in grade 1 and grade 2. As a citizen of the Philippines, we should be fluent in Filipino language. On the other hand, we have to be fluent also when it comes to English language since it is our lingua franca or our universal language. So, experts say that rather than truly supporting both languages, some implementations of the policy have led to subtractive patterns. Students may get stronger in English but weaker in Filipino or in their regional mother tongue. So there are challenges and implementations. If teachers are not well trained if both languages, if materials like textbooks, reading materials are inadequate in Filipino or regional languages, or if the curriculum is not balanced, then competence in one language, often English, can dominate. Some students may struggle if they come from homes or regions where English or Filipino is not used widely. So, the language gap can make comprehension harder. Cultural or linguistic identities issues may arise if learners feel their home regional languages are undervalued. So, policy details regional or auxiliary languages and recent changes. So, the 1987 Bilingual Education Policy or the Department Order 52/1987 Constitution states that regional languages are to be used as auxiliary media in grades 1 and 2, particularly as initial languages for literacy were needed. Auxiliary means that they can support comprehension, help bridge learning from their home language to Filipino or English, and help with early literacy and etc. However, very recently, as of 2024-2025, there has been a shift through Republic Act number 12027, DepEd Order number 20/2025, the use of mother tongue as the primary medium of instruction in kinder to grade 3 is discontinued nationwide. Now, Filipino and English shall be primarily media of instruction for those early grades. Regional or auxiliary language will only serve as supporting language. So, the policy aims for people to be competent in both, able to use Filipino well for national and cultural purposes and English well for international, academic, and technological purposes. The policy was meant to be additive, using both languages and not replacing one with the other. But in practice, some of the disadvantages, especially the subtractive bilingualism, suggest that the additive ideal was not always met, because not every time we can use the English language, like when answering or participating in class, we always use vernacular languages where we shift from our mother tongue to express our knowledge more deeply. So next is bilingualism and diglossia. So bilingualism, these refers to the ability of the individual to use two languages. So the two languages might be used in different contexts, in home, school, work, or in socials. So depending on the need or the preference. While on the other hand, diglossia is a term that's used to refer to the use of two languages in a societal level. This is a social linguistic situation where it refers to society or community, not just individuals, in which two varieties of language or two different languages are used by the same speech community, but each variety has a specific domain, role, or function. One variety is high, prestigious, formal, used in written texts, formal speeches, education, official media, and etc. And the other is low, colloquial, informal, used in everyday conversation. The high variety often is not used in casual settings, while the low variety is often used in casual settings. In the glossic societies, who you're speaking to, the audience, and the situation or context, informal versus informal, home versus school, government versus media, or determine which language variety is appropriate. So when you are debating, you use formal words. When you are talking to your friends or you are just casually having conversation, then you use informal words. That is the higher and the lower the varieties of the glossic societies. So for example, so in student teachers, like talking to each other, discussions, and formal lectures, written literatures, documents, official documents, and the high variety is low. It's used, which is the formal language. While in casual conversation, just chica, total chit chat, hanging out with your friends, talking like that, then you use the informal or the low variety. So there are four languages situation where bilingualism and diglossia may exist with or without each other. So situation 1, diglossia and bilingualism together. Everyone in the community uses the majority and minority language. For example, the majority language is used for education and government, while the minority language is used within the local neighborhood or in your family. So, within the society also has diglossia. That is, one language or variety is restricted to certain formal contexts, while the other is to the informal ones. Because inside the education or government, we use formal language, while inside the neighborhood or in your family, you use informal language. So, the second situation is the diglossia only. Diglossia without bilingualism in one group, participants speaks one language and all the other groups speaks a different language. So, the community has different varieties or languages that are used in different functions. Example, there is a high and low variety, but they are not bilingual in the sense that many people do not use or do not know one of the languages or variety well. In other words, diglossia exists but full bilingual competence is limited. The high variety can serve formal or official needs. The low variety remains for the social identity. Many people may be disadvantaged if they lack competence in the high variety, especially in education and formal settings. The next situation is bilingualism only. Most people are bilingual and does not restrict the use of any language to a specific purpose or of context. Ikaw, bahala ka kung saan mo gagamitin yung lingwahe mo. Walang magre-restrict sa'yo. Bilingualism only most people know or use two languages, but there is no strict functional division by domain or social contexts. Usage of the languages is more flexible. No rigid high versus low variety or domains. People can choose which language to use depending on preference without social rules forcing one in certain settings. Flexible inclusive allows more freedom for speakers, reduces stigma about using one language versus the other. Potential confusion or lack of standardization might lead to one language being used less or looked upon even if technically allowed everywhere. So, situation 4, no diglossia and no bilingualism. Linguistic diverse community but they are forced to converse in a monolingual. Even if you know different language, you are forced to converse to be a monolingual one. But people are forced by law, policy, and social pressure to use only one language, usually the dominant or the official one. Even if individuals know other languages, they cannot freely use them. No formal recognition of language variety or domain distinction. Possibly more unity of policy, simpler administration, loss of minority languages or linguistic diversity, identity, culture can be harmed. Speakers of minority languages may struggle, feel marginalized. So that's all for my discussion, and I hope you learned something and acquire more knowledge about my discussion. So again, I am Andrea Hian from BSE 2A. Bye.